What is going on? So the other day, someone that I know has been driving now for about 8 months, I'd say, just past their test, 8 months, and they were going through their insurance, obviously at that time, and which they decided to go for a black box. So after just watching them go through it and go through the hassle, obviously filing your insurance, everyone knows how painful your first insurance is to find. I thought I would do a video around kind of like insurance tips and black boxes. Like, are they worth it? Because she has had a black box now for 8 months, and just looking back, I remember the time when I had a black box. They were very difficult times.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping.
But anyway, them times are past us now. I can now finally get a realistic insurance quote without having a black box. So when I was actually looking at kind of like how much she priced for it, so she has a Fiat 500 1.269 horsepower. So she was quoted, they're not bad for insurance, obviously just all round. So she's quoted, I believe, I might be wrong here, but 1,200 something with a black box. So she's gone for that option. So I believe it was a cheap price, obviously, for your first year's insurance. Was amazing, because I think my insurance was something ridiculous, which I did have a black box, which I'll get around to kind of like my experience of it at the moment, which was 1,700 something I think I paid for my first year's insurance. But anyway, back to her black box. So she's gone for that option. It was 1,400 without a black box and 1,200 with a black box. So I'm going to kind of go over what is it worth it, and kind of like the ways you can maybe try and get yourself cheaper insurance. So I'm not saying that I'm actually perfect with insurance and 100% know what I'm doing, because I've never worked for an insurance company or anything like that, but I'm just going to kind of give you my own tips of what I've done to actually try and make my own personal insurance a bit cheaper, and what kind of I went around to do that. Alright guys, so that's what the video is going to be about today. I hope you guys enjoy. So, start off with, like I was saying about her insurance. So she firstly got a black box, and she's had about 8 months now, maybe a bit longer, and she gets rated on this score thing. It was literally a black box she just plugged into the battery in the car, and it just then went from that point on. Then obviously it started just recording her driving. So it rates out of 100. Her insurance is rated on acceleration, speed, braking, and vehicle handling, I believe. So everything's perfect apart from acceleration and speeding, which is both the problems I had with my black box when I was younger. So she's got the problem where in a 1.2 Fiat, obviously 69 horsepower, you have to kind of put your foot a little bit down to actually get anywhere, to reach that 60 mark. So soon as she's putting her foot down, obviously coming off a roundabout or coming out of a junction, to try and build her that speed so her car's not right up her arse all the time, obviously the black box is picking up that she's accelerating hard and that she's obviously not being careful, you know, how they redeem as careful. But I think that's just a major problem right there. The black box is the acceleration, because some cars obviously do have less horsepower and do require you to put down a few revs just to build up that first lot of speed and momentum before you actually, before you reach the speed, because not all cars can do 0 to 60 in 6 seconds or anything like that. So I think it's something like ridiculous for you. It's 12.3, I believe. But obviously not all cars can do that. So the insurance companies are looking at thinking, oh, that's bad. And you just see your score go down and down and down. I think she's now at 12 out of 100 for acceleration, which I think the insurance companies need to start looking at and kind of put in perspective that different cars work in different ways. I mean, I've been in the car, but she never really goes over 4,000 revs, which is not too bad. I personally don't think. I don't think that's a bad acceleration. Another thing is obviously the speeding. So I'm going to bring my own story into the speed with the black box. So obviously the black box runs off a GPS and it realises what locations you're in. So for example, if you're driving down 20 zone, the black box will know you're in a 20 zone, 30 zone, etc, etc. So where I used to live, there was a bypass right next to where I live. So there was a bypass which is 60 miles per hour, and then you had a 30 zone right next to it. So I was driving along in the 60 zone, and sorry, just have to overtake someone. So So I was driving along in the 60 zone and, you know, going down the bypass, just happily plodding along. I never spent the black box, so I think it's not worth it. To make my insurance a little bit cheaper, there's no point in speeding. So I was just plodding along at 60. My first car, by the way, was a Ford Focus 02 plate. It never failed me actually. It had the engine light always up, but it actually never failed me. But anyway, yeah, so I was plodding along my Ford Focus 02 plate, doing 60 down the bypass, happily that day, and then, you know, came off, you know, it's a normal day. The next day I get an email saying my insurance is going to be cancelled due to excessive speeding, which then I thought, okay, I don't remember excessive speeding, you know, but if I have, fair enough, then my insurance should get cancelled. But I literally swear down I never sped when I had the black box on. So I rang them up and said, when was I excessively speeding? Like, just out of curiosity, when was, you know, I was trying to sort out when was I excessively speeding? Which then they replied with, on yada yada date, I can't remember the date and stuff, but yada yada, you were speeding down this the road next to my house, apparently doing 60 in a 30 zone, which is obviously double the speed limit, and so I should get banned for doing that sort of speed. So I said to him, I wasn't speeding. There was no chance I was speeding. Doing 60 in a 30 zone, I'd never do that. And they said, okay, let us, you know, investigate this and let's check it and make sure obviously not. So a few days passed. I set up my insurance at this point. A few days passed, and they got back to me and said, oh, and they said they kind of looked like it was my fault, and they kind of like, this time round, they said the word this time round, which annoyed me a little bit because it sounded like I was the one lying and just trying to get out of it. So they said this time round we're going to let you off, and, you know, because it might have been that you're on the other side of the road and we clocked it in the wrong area. I was like, okay, fair enough. So then that time passed. Obviously I didn't get my insurance banned or anything like that. So then I went on to my next renewal, which was a shock to the system when I got it. So obviously in most second years driving, I feel like with my friends and everything, insurance is always right for some reason. Like I said, I'm not an insurance expert, so I'm not sure. But obviously then my renewal came to and I didn't take them, but it went from 1,700 to 2,800 something pounds with a black box. So I rang them up, obviously. I'm not going to pay 2,800 something. I said, why has it risen that much? And they said, oh, obviously many factors do affect insurance, which is fair enough. Which I'll go on to a second with the factors I've seen affect my insurance. But I said to them, I'm not going to pay £2,800 for my insurance with a black box. That's just ridiculous. And I said, can you explain why you've risen it to that much? So they said, obviously premiums rise. That's what they said. It's just a normal thing with insurance. They can either rise or go down. Your premiums can, so it depends. And also, they said of the excessive speeding quotation that I had on during that year of insurance, which I said, there's no, like, that was revoked. Like, I wasn't speeding. They said they put it off, and they said, yeah, but we still have to put that into a factor that happened. Which then I kind of thought, that's just ridiculous, because if it's been waived, it's been waived. So then obviously from that point they weren't going to put it down. I kept trying to say to them, but they weren't going to put it down. So in the end I just said, fair enough, I'm just going to move insurance, which I done. And then the second time round, I can't remember who I went with, but it was an insurance company where you plug the black box into your cigarette lighter, just put it somewhere in the car as long as it's facing forward, and you have it for 6 months and you see if you get a discount, which I think I got like £100 discount. But in my aspect of the black box there, I kind of feel like, I don't personally feel like black boxes are worth it. I kind of feel like they're a little bit of a con, because if you get them put on, they might save you like 200 quid than going obviously without a black box. But it's just, you feel like you're such on a leash and you can't do anything. Like stuff that normal drivers do, like you're just hammered down, like just completely hammered down to that black box, and you've got to watch your mileage, you've got to watch your acceleration. I mean, I feel like it's more dangerous because you're just constantly watching your speed. You're just sitting there going, like, okay, what am I doing now? Which is obviously bad, because you should just keep concentrating on the road. I mean, like, no one can say that when they're on the dual carriageway, they slowly either creep to 75 or 80. They just, sorry, but they just don't realise. I feel like that's just a normal way of driving. Like, you don't realise sometimes you're doing 80, you know, or 75 on the dual carriageway, or if you go at, like, you know, 32 in a 30 zone, which is obviously bad because you should stick to 30 zones, but it happens. But then you just get hammered on your insurance with the black box, and you just get no leeway with it. So So personally, on my aspect, I feel like the black box is kind of a bit of a con, and if I could go back, I probably wouldn't get one, just because the hassle I had with it and the pain is just it's just ridiculous. I mean, insurance companies definitely need to look at the black box and kind of realise it's there just to see if you're driving better, and not a way just to kind of spy on you and see how you're driving and whack your premiums up, you know, when you go 1 mile per hour above the speed limit. I mean, let me know in the comments below on your personal experiences with the black box if you've had one, and kind of let me know, or if you know someone who's had one, let me know kind of your experiences with it and what was the outcome of you having one. Did you get cheaper insurance? Did it rise? It'll be just interesting to know, obviously, everyone's experience with the black box, or if you've known someone with the black box. So kind of like the second part of this video, I'm going to go on to a bit about insurance tips and kind of what made my insurance what it is now. So my insurance, obviously, I've got 1.4 Seat Leon. I've declared all my mods, so my insurance is about roughly, usually quoted about between £700 to £800 a year. So I'm with Admiral, and I do the multi-car discount. So me and my missus are on a multi-car discount together, so that we get a little bit cheaper, which it does make it a lot cheaper, and I can't, like, there's no way I can say it doesn't, because it is a good discount, I'll give them that. I'm not sure how they work out the discount, but it is quite a bit of a discount. So yeah, I pay about £700 to £800. So the factors I put into place when I went around renewal, so I always say, if you're new into insurance and kind of don't understand what, obviously, why premiums are, never ever accept what they send through the door as a quotation. Obviously, you know, next renewal price, never accept it. Ring them up, and 9 times out of 10, don't go to another company straight away because it's higher. Ring them up, and actually say to them, okay, why is it this price? And 100%, you 9 times out of 10, you can keep the exact same package you have and get like £300 knocked off it, or it's just ridiculous if you just call up them and explain to them, saying, why is it this much? And they'll be like, oh, we move this and move that. You end up with the same package, but they can make it £300 cheaper for you, which is a massive saving. And it's just, I mean, like, you'd be crazy not to. So another thing that kind of factors into insurance is, which I realise is where you live, is a massive factor. So I recently lived in a bit more of a rougher, like, a bit more of a rougher, rougher town, I'll use that, a bit more rougher town, where, you know, crime rate was a bit higher, obviously more cars were getting stolen, damaged, and that. So then, recently, I'll say recently, about 2 years ago, I moved to kind of more of a quieter town, which most of the town is just old folks, nothing really happens there, and my insurance rate went well down, like, it went just completely right down. So obviously you can't lie about where you live, but it does, where you live is a massive factor on how your insurance is going to be affected, and how they look at it, and how they price your insurance and your premiums. So another thing is that I realised, but I was trying to keep down still, is obviously how much you're willing to pay up front if you are in a crash, so your excess. So the higher you put that, the cheaper your insurance will be. So you don't want to put it ridiculously high. I mean, I think my excess is like 250 or something like that. You don't want to put it ridiculously high, because at the end of the day, you want to keep it realistic, so that if you are in an accident, you don't want it to the point where, you know, you can't afford the excess. So you want to keep it to a realistic amount, and make sure you could afford it if you are in a crash. So yeah, so and another thing I'd say that I realised affected my insurance massively, obviously, is the car you drive itself. So if you're first year driving, don't go on the hype and try and get a big engine, obviously, or unless mummy and dad's paying for you, then go right ahead. But obviously, if you're paying for it yourself, don't go out, and unless you can afford it, obviously, but I would suggest not to go out and buy a high horsepower, high engine, you know, performance car, because you're just going to pay for insurance. Like, you might get a bargain in terms of, like, if you're buying it second hand, you might think, oh, that is a bargain, I'll get that. But then you will be shafted on insurance. You will, in the end, pay just out front for it, and then you'll think, while I get this car, like, the insurance is way more expensive than the actual car is. So I'd suggest starting off with like kind of like a lower horsepower car, lower performance car. If that means you have to get a 1 litre, 1.2, even a 1.4, which is mine is, surprisingly, you know, get them, because at the end of the day you are going to pay cheaper insurance, and the renewal price is going to be a lot better. Oh, for goodness sakes, people cannot drive. Yeah, so I would definitely say get a smaller engine, a smaller car for your first year of driving, just so that you can build it, you know, claimed, you can build it, you know, so insurance companies know you're a better driver, and that, you know, then you'll just, in